A blistering verbal assault from Moscow. Russia lashes out as Europe freezes its move. Vladimir Putin's top aide, Dmitry Medvedev, has unleashed an extraordinary tirade against European Union leaders, branding their Brussels summit a gathering of thieves and gangsters. He mocked European Commission chief Ursula von der Leyen as an old hag. Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz was dismissed as a lackey. French President Emmanuel Macron was labeled a prostitute, and Ukraine's leadership was sneered at as rats. Former Russian President and current Vladimir Putin ally Dmitry Medvedev erupted in fury after EU leaders met in Brussels to debate the fate of more than 190 billion euros in frozen Russian assets. Medvedev accused the bloc of planning outright theft and didn't stop there. His words were raw, personal, and designed to shock Europe. He hurled personal insults at Europe's most powerful figures, language rarely heard at this diplomatic level. He mocked European Commission chief Ursula von der Leyen as an old hag. Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz was dismissed as a lackey. French President Emmanuel Macron was labeled a prostitute, and Ukraine's leadership was sneered at as rats. Medvedev claimed the EU had only paused, not abandoned, its plan to seize Russian money. He said Brussels wanted to stage a stick-up, criminal slang for armed robbery, but backed down after pressure from Washington. According to Medvedev, Europe's leaders lacked the nerve to act alone and bowed to what he called the seniority of American handlers. He accused the EU of quietly preparing to steal Russian assets in the future while pretending to lie low to avoid legal fallout. And he mocked divisions inside the bloc, pointing out that several countries refused to contribute to what he sneered at as a European common fund to support Kiev. The Kremlin doubled down. Vladimir Putin himself warned that using Russian assets would amount to open robbery, not diplomacy. Putin said such a move would shatter confidence in the Eurozone and promised Moscow would fight back in courts, across jurisdictions, wherever possible.
Кража – это тайное похищение имущества, а у нас пытаются сделать открыто. Это грабеж. Это не просто удар по имиджу, это подрыв доверия, в данном случае, к еврозоне. Чего бы они ни украли, и как бы они это ни сделали, когда-то придется отдавать. Ну и, кроме всего прочего, мы будем защищать свои интересы. Ну, где? Прежде всего, в судах. И мы постараемся найти такую юрисдикцию, которая будет независима от политических решений. Он же артист, и артист талантливый, я говорю без всякой иронии. Мы знаем это по его фильмам еще в прежние времена. Поэтому здесь ничего необычного нет. Ну, говорят, что Стелла совсем сейчас по-другому выглядит, но дело не в этом. Стелла находится от самого города где-то на расстоянии километра примерно. Ну чего стоять на пороге-то? Заходи в дом. Правильно? Если уж Купянск под их контролем.
Meanwhile, despite hours of tense negotiations, the European Union failed to reach consensus on seizing Russia's frozen funds. Hungary, Slovakia, the Czech Republic, and critically Belgium, where most of the assets are held, refused to green-light the plan without ironclad legal protections. Belgium warned it could face massive lawsuits and financial retaliation if Russia sues and wins. Belgium has approximately 185 billion euros of the total 210 billion euros of frozen assets. With the plan collapsing, EU leaders settled for a face-saving compromise, a $90 billion loan for Ukraine over the next 2 years, backed by the EU budget. EU officials insist the money will only be repaid when Russia pays reparations.
We committed and we delivered. In October, we decided that the European Union would cover Ukraine's pressing financial needs for 2026 and 2027. Last week, we decided that Russia would not get its assets back until Moscow ends its aggression. Today, we approved a decision to provide 90 billion euros to Ukraine for the next 2 years. As a matter of urgency, we will provide a loan backed by the European Union budget. This will address the urgent financial needs of Ukraine. And Ukraine will only repay this loan once Russia pays reparations. The Union reserves its right to make use of the immobilized asset to repay this loan. At the same time, we gave a mandate to the Commission to continue working on the reparation loan based on Russian immobilized assets. On top of that, we have agreed to roll over our sanctions against Russia. Our goal is not to prolong the war. In fact, today's decisions are a crucial contribution to achieve a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. Because the only way to bring Russia to the negotiation table is to strengthen Ukraine. Today's decisions will provide Ukraine with the necessary means to defend itself and to support the Ukrainian people. The message we are sending to Russia today is crystal clear. First, you have not achieved your objectives in Ukraine. Second, Europe stands with Ukraine today, tomorrow, and as long as necessary. Third, Russia must come to the negotiation table in a serious way and accept that it will not win this war. Because the only way forward is a ceasefire and a negotiated peace.
We all share one clear goal, a just and lasting peace for Ukraine. That was the motto of the discussion today. So we gathered with a clear objective to address Ukraine's pressing financing needs for the next 2 years. And I'm very pleased to say we made it. We have secured an agreement that we can deliver on the financing needs for Ukraine for the next 2 years. The member states have agreed to finance the Ukraine through EU borrowing on the capital markets for an amount of 90 billion euros for the next 2 years. We will do this by way of enhanced cooperation that is backed by the EU budget headroom and based on an unanimous agreement to amend the MFF. Similarly to the reparations loan, very important here, Ukraine would only need to pay back the loan once it receives reparations. Until then, the immobilized Russian assets will remain immobilized, and the Union reserves its right to make use of the cash balances to finance the loan. This is the solution we found together, and as discussed in the last weeks, financing Ukraine beyond 2027 will then be part of the next MFF discussion.
But Moscow is watching closely. For the Kremlin, this isn't just about money, it's about precedent, power, and who dares to cross the line. And judging by Medvedev's rage-filled outburst, the battle over Russia's frozen billions is far from over.